Hi guys, my name is Kirsty and welcome back to Upside Down Books. Today we have another book haul, and honestly I don't know how I have this many books to show you already considering my December book haul.
Non più tra I farfalloni amoroso, notte giorno di torno.
There are plenty of excuses I could give you as to why there are so many books, but at the end of the day, do we really care? Because it's just fun having all these new books, so let's get through them, go through them, let's have a look. And let's lay down my excuses as to why I am still adding to my TBR, even though I have plenty of books to get through. So the first book that I'm going to show you today is one that I got for an absolute steal from like the bargain bucket at the library, and that was Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge. I have had this on like my eye on this for a really long time, but I have never bitten the bullet and gone and got myself a copy of it, but they were selling this for literally 50 cents at the library for like a pristine hardback edition of it. Obviously I've done some touch-ups to take stickers off and make it look pretty again, but I was like 50 cents. How could I say no to that? So this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I was always under the impression it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but I could be wrong. So I'm pretty sure it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I don't know if I've just got that in my mind because of the title, but I was under the impression it was. And I haven't really heard anyone talking about this for years. This book is a little bit old now. I think this book is, let me have a little look. This book was published in 2014, so it is going on nearly 10 years old, but I am very excited to have this on my bookshelf, and I will get around to it whenever it is pulled out of my TBR jar. So the reason I have the next book is from my pre-order haul. So basically what I did at the end of last year is I had a look at all of the books coming out in 2021, and I picked the ones I was most excited for. I think I picked about 10 so that I would have something to look forward to throughout the year as these books come in. Ended up most of these books being ones that are coming out the first half of the year just because of how far in advance you can see these things, so I am debating whether I might place another pre-order like haul in like June, July time, but that's not what we're here to discuss today. But one of the books that came out in January that I've already got is Law by Alexandra Bracken. I am so excited about this book because everyone is talking about it, and I just love the cover. This cover is absolutely captivating. So I think you can tell that this is a story about the Greek gods with Medusa taking front and center, and it sounds really, really interesting. I will read you the blurb if you are not familiar with it. Hunt or be hunted. In modern day New York, a murderous game is about to begin. The Aegon. Could be Argon. I don't know how to say that. Every 7 years, for 1 week only, Zeus punishes the gods and makes them mortal. Forced to walk the earth, they are savagely hunted by the descendants of ancient bloodlines, who are eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. After her family was brutally murdered by a rival line, Lord Perseus fled, turning her back on the Argon's cruel promises of eternal glory. For years, Law has honoured her parents' memory by doing one thing: surviving. For years, she has pushed away dark thoughts of revenge until now. As the next game dawns, Law finds Athena gravely wounded on her doorstep. The goddess offers her an alliance against their mutual enemy and a way to leave the Argon behind forever. But Law's decision to rejoin the hunt will come at a deadly cost, and may not be enough to stop the rise of a new god with the power to destroy all of humanity. If you haven't already got your browser open and are clicking to go and buy this, then I don't know what else I can say to convince you. The next book I have to show you is a review copy, and that is The Island by C.L. Taylor. I think this came out in January, so it is already out, and this one just sounds so good. Welcome to the island where your worst fears are about to come true. It was supposed to be the perfect holiday, a week-long trip for 6 teenage friends on a remote tropical island. But when their guide dies of a stroke, leaving them stranded, a trip of a lifetime turns into a nightmare. Because someone on the island knows each of the group's worst fears, and one by one, they're becoming a reality. Who will make it off the island alive? Granted, I don't think this is the most original of concepts, but I am a sucker for these storylines where there's a bunch of people stuck on an island and there's something nightmarish out there coming to take them off one by one. So I am looking forward to picking this up very soon and letting you know what my thoughts are on it, because I think that this sounds like a thrilling read. So the next 4 books I have to show you, I want to show you together because there is a reason relating all of them together, and that's because at the end of the year I've started what I'm sure is going to be a new tradition for me, and that was to order the sequels of books I read during the year that I really enjoyed, because I am terrible at continuing series, as we know, and I thought it might be a proactive move to actually sit down in December and say, what did I enjoy reading this year, and what have I not already got the sequel for that I want to continue? And so I picked out 4 books, 4 series that I wanted to continue. So these are the sequels that I have now got on my shelf ready to be picked out of my sequels TBR jar. When Fate So Desires. So the first one is the sequel to Mirage, which is Court of Lions. This is a YA sci-fi. It's had a cover change, so it looks a little different to my initial copy of Mirage, but again, it's a similar sort of size to the first one. It's nothing too big, and this one has a really great storyline going for it. You've basically got like this interplanetary galaxy kingdom sort of empire. That was a lot of words. And this one girl who looks very similar to the Crown Princess is picked to act and behave and perform as the princess in public for the princess's safety, and she's not doing it willingly. So it is a really great story and one you should definitely get into if you haven't. The second of the sequels I picked was The Silvered Serpents by Roshani Chokshi. This is the sequel to The Gilded Wolves, which was a YA historical fiction, which I think came out a couple years ago. I really enjoyed that, and I think this only came out last year. There was a little bit of a I felt like there was a bit of a break between books 1 and 2 coming out. This is basically a YA heist. Fans of Six of Crows and Leigh Bardugo's style of writing, this is definitely something you should check out. And again, similar size to book 1, nothing too big to tackle. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this story goes. The third one that I got was the sequel to Furyborn, which is Kingsbane by Claire Legrand. These are a bit heftier books. These are YA epic fantasies, and it is a really great series if you're into your epic fantasy and you don't mind a book with a little bit more of a commitment to it, then this is definitely it. This is much more similar to sort of Throne of Glass vibes, and you've got someone who has magical powers, who's struggling to control them, and people didn't know she had these powers, and she has to go through sort of like these trials to make sure that she is okay and not crazy, basically. And there's a whole lot of other intrigue going into it because there's like the dark side, and there's like an empire that's taking over and making everyone's lives miserable, and the storylines are split. So we've got, I think, about 1,000 or 3,000 years difference, and it's told in alternating perspectives. I feel like I did a really bad job of explaining it, but this is definitely, like, on the back here it says an addictive, fascinating fantasy, and I feel like that's a really succinct way of summing up what it is. This was so easy to read despite its size. I went through the first one within a matter of days. So the last sequel that I ordered was Hunting Prince Dracula by Kerry Maniscalco. Now this is the sequel to Stalking Jack the Ripper, which is brilliant. This series has got so much traction at the moment. I feel like everyone is talking about it. The titles are relatively self-explanatory with the first, like they're all following the same characters, and then they sort of look at different, like Jack the Ripper and Dracula, and it goes on. There's like Houdini and someone else. I think it's a quartet. And I'm really looking forward to completing this. This was really satisfying to get my hands on because it's a series I sort of read and forgot about. I listened to the audiobook for the first one, so it never really crossed my mind that I should go out and pick up the second one. I decided that I wanted to read it in physical format because I actually wanted to read it faster than the audiobook was going. It was just so exciting that I needed to be able to just demolish this within my own pace. So again, I have heard nothing but good things about this and very excited to dive into it. So the next book I got was part of my Read and Relax blind date with a book package for January. I am still repping these guys, so my rep codes are down below. If you want to check them out, treat yourself and get a blind date with a book, you can get a little discount with my code. The one that I got in the pack that I had for January was The Wolves of London by Mark Morris. This one has a very short blurb, so I will read it to you. Alex Locke is a reformed ex-con forced back into London's criminal underworld for one more job. He agrees to steal a priceless artifact, a human heart carved from the blackest obsidian. But when the burglary goes horribly wrong, Alex is plunged into the nightmarish world of the Wolves of London, unearthly assassins who will stop at nothing to reclaim the heart. As he races to unlock the secrets of the mysterious object, Alex must learn to wield its dark power or be destroyed by it. I don't really know much about this. I've never heard about this book before. I'm hoping it'll be good. I have a feeling this may be a book I'll read like this book of and may not continue the series, but we will see. We will see how addictive it is. But it kind of, for whatever reason, makes me think of the Cherub series, if you're familiar with that one, like The Recruit. I'm kind of getting that sort of vibe from it, but I haven't read it, so we don't know. The next book I bought was a complete impulse buy, but for good reasons, and that was Sarina by Ellen Alpston. This book I bought simply because I saw it on the bookshelves. Hear me out. This came out last year in 2020, and I love my historical fiction. This one is obviously set in Russia and is about the Tsars, and I think it sounds really cool. It's quite a hefty book and it's got a lovely cover. But I saw not very many people talking about it, as is usually the way with historical fiction, and I certainly wasn't expecting to see it in independent bookstores. And I was in one of my favourite independent bookstores here in Perth, and I saw it on the shelf, along with many other books I was not expecting that, like, an independent store to stock. And I was so impressed with their selection, with whoever was managing their stock that day, that I thought I just wanted to go and get myself a copy because I was so excited that someone else had taken an interest in this and had put it out there for people to get. So that is my excuse for buying this book. The next book I got because I was scandalized that I didn't already have it, and that was Wild by Kristen Hanna. Can we believe that I completely missed Kristen Hanna's release for 2020? I am shocked because I love Kristen Hanna, as we know, and I have read many of her other books. I'm always excited for a Kristen Hanna release. I had not heard of Wild. I wasn't aware that it got released last year. For whatever reason, her books... That's not true. I was going to say her books don't make the Goodreads list, but her one for this year did, so I don't know what happened there, but I completely missed it, and I obviously had to fix that. So when I saw it in a bookstore and had a moment of shock and indignity as I realised I did not own this book and had not read it, I got myself a copy, and I will be amending that as soon as possible. This one I will read you the blurb for because her books are always very intriguing, dark and mysterious, and I will not do it justice if I try to paraphrase. In the rugged Pacific Northwest of the United States lies the Olympic National Forest, a vast expanse of impenetrable darkness and impossible beauty. From deep within this mysterious land, a 6-year-old girl appears. Speechless and alone, she offers no clue as to her identity, no hint of her past. Having retreated to her hometown after scandal left her career in ruins, child psychiatrist Dr. Julia Cates begins working with the extraordinary little girl. Naming her Alice, Julia is determined to free her from her prison of unimaginable fear and isolation and discover the truth about Alice's past. The shocking facts of Alice's life test the limits of Julia's faith and strength, even as she struggles to make a home for Alice and find a new one for herself. I think this is going to be harrowing, and I don't think I'm going to be able to read it at night. I think this it sounds like it's tiptoeing on the edge of a psychological thriller, and I can't wait. So that brings me to my final book that I have to show you of what I acquired in January, and spoiler alert, I have already read this one. Shock and horror, I know, and this was another review copy. It was The Moroccan Daughter by Deborah Rodriguez. I am a big Deborah Rodriguez fan. I think it's just out of screen there, but I actually have I think most of her other books. The one that I've read is The Little Coffee Shop of Kabul, but there's also The House on Carnival Street and The Kabul Beauty School, and then she came out with The Moroccan Daughter. So I really love Deborah Rodriguez's settings. This came out on the 2nd of February, so it is already available for purchase, and I loved it. This was so much of a breeze to read. I just found it really addictive, and I didn't want to put it down. It's obviously set in Morocco. It follows a story of a girl called Amina, and she has already married this American guy. She lives in California, and she comes back to Morocco for her sister's wedding, and the whole story is about her building up the courage to let her father know that she's broken tradition, she's going against the culture, and she's already married this American guy. And it's this massive conflict of identity and culture, and this big clash of everything, but there's some fantastic characters in it. Notably, there's a really sassy grandmother, and it's just 100% worth the read because B is my everything. Not the last book, I nearly forgot the audiobook. This is why we always do it first, but I didn't listen to my usual advice. Just got really light. It's like 6 p.m. Why is it this light? It's actually 6 p.m. The audiobook that I got in January was Infernal Devices, which is the 3rd book in the Mortal Instruments series. I had sort of forgotten that I was reading this series, and then I suddenly thought, oh, I need to continue that. I have been really enjoying the audiobooks for this one. I think the story in itself is very unique and different, and it's a lot of fun. So if you haven't read this, then I definitely recommend you do. I strongly recommend you stay away from the movie because the movie is rubbish. It's nothing like the book and they just absolutely butchered it, but the series is fantastic and I feel like it is just timeless and will always be amazing. So I can't wait to start reading this one soon. So this is the stupid number of books that I managed to acquire last month. I'm honestly concerned slightly that I have this many books after like my 30 book haul for December. I don't know where they're all going to go. Some of them have homes, some of them don't, but that's not something for you guys to stress about. I will stress about that in my own time. So let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these, if you're planning on reading any of these, or if you're just concerned by the number of books I'm acquiring, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.
Alle gloria mia